Hey guys, Tim Jordan here, Product Marketing Manager in the marketing team here at Open Colleges. Today we're going to talk about a new course that we're about to launch that we're very excited about. It's called the Diploma of Logistics, and this course is going to go live very soon. So today I'll take you through the details of the course, and hopefully by the end of this presentation you'll be ready to talk to students about what it means to study this course and what they might get out of it. So we'll get started. And so what we're going to talk about today is an introduction to the course. So what is this course about, and especially what is logistics, so what it means to work in the logistics sector. I'll take you through who we think the target audience is for this course, who we think is going to be interested in studying it, and what their motivations for studying it might be, what we think they're going to want to get out of the course. We'll go through the employment outcomes, so what people will actually get to be when they finish. And then we'll go through the actual structure of the course. So what units are in it, how the study periods are structured, and it's just essentially what students are going to learn by studying this course. I'll take you through the entry requirements, and also then there is some information about the articulation agreements with the universities that we have for this course. Finally, we'll finish off with a comparison of who our competitors are and highlighting our unique selling points against our competitors, and then of course the all-important pricing options for the Diploma of Logistics. All right, so we decided to develop this course because logistics is a growing field. As more and more businesses start to import and export their goods and services overseas, and as more and more businesses start to develop links within the supply chain, logistics itself is starting to become more and more important. And because of that, demand for qualified logistics professionals is continuing to grow. The other also interesting thing about this course, the Diploma of Logistics, is that there are a few competitors offering this course online. So in February 2014, when I'm doing this presentation, there are not a lot of major competitors offering the course via online learning. There's a few offering it on campus, so that we think that represents an opportunity for open colleges. So essentially, a lot of people may not know what logistics is, and so a few definitions we have here is that logistics essentially is about planning and then implementing and then controlling the flow of goods and services from suppliers to customers. And normally this represents physical things, physical products or items. Now, if you think about a large retailer like Woolworths or Coles, they have a lot of stock, a lot of stuff sitting on the shelf. They have to get it from somewhere, from an original supplier, whether that's a farmer who's farming their fruit and vegetables, or whether that's a manufacturer manufacturing their cleaning products or other products that they have on the shelf. They've got to get them from those places into their stores, and often they will have a distribution center or a warehouse somewhere that acts as a central point for controlling the flow of those materials. And that's essentially what logistics is. It's managing the inputs and outputs of all of those materials from the starting point to the end point, getting those materials to the customer. So if you think about it in those terms, it's a fairly complex process. So you can understand why there's a real need for skilled people who can do these jobs. So a logistics professional will manage the systems, manage the processes, and manage the procedures to move these goods around. And they need to move them safely. They need to move them efficiently. They need to get them to the right place and from the right place, and they need to do it within the right time frame to satisfy their customers, to satisfy their internal goals. So again, it's a fairly involved profession, and this is why we think that our course will serve a need in the market. So again, if we want to break it down very simply, components of the logistics field include what's called purchasing and procurement. So that's essentially buying things, sourcing things from suppliers. There's also warehousing, which is when you found a supplier or you found a place to purchase your raw materials, you can then store it so you could put it in a warehouse. So typically logistics doesn't involve the manufacturing, the actual process of creating a good, but it's more about finding it, buying it, and then putting it in a warehouse somewhere, storing it. Then you've also got transport. So you've got the moving of basically essentially moving stuff. So once you've found it, bought it, and stored it, and then you need to move it to your customer, or move it to your retailer, or wherever you're moving it to. So all of these components are involved in the management of a supply chain. So the reason we've included these here is I think that this is terminology that's used in the industry, and I think it's helpful for you guys to be familiar with these terms so that when you're talking to students, they will no doubt be interested in these components or these issues and be talking to you about what areas they can move into. So we think that there's a number of different groups that are going to be interested in this course. We think that this course will suit those who are already working in logistics in the field. So they might be working in a warehouse, or they might be in transport, like driving a truck, or they might be, driving a forklift, putting things on the back of a truck or in a ship. And they want to use this qualification to move into a supervisor position, move into a management position. Perhaps they think they can one day become, manage the warehouse, or they can manage the system of moving the goods off the shipping container and into the distribution center. And this qualification will allow them to really get that solid knowledge they'll need. Another group might already be working in logistics and supply chain in that supervisor field. Now, when doing our research, we noticed that logistics was an industry where you could actually move through the ranks without a qualification. It was more about experience. But we believe that there's a good segment of the market that are in a supervisor position with no qualifications who want to use the course as a way of formalizing their knowledge. So that it's basically insurance, so that they realize that they've got the experience. Now if they get a qualification as well, they can either move up, or they can maintain their position without worrying about it. We also think there's going to be a good portion of people who are wanting to change careers. Now, I think most people are going to come from a similar field where they're doing a bit of logistics already, but now they want to specialize. So if you think about people who work in retail, who work in a store, or who own their own store, for example, people who work in the mining industry, who may be thinking that the mining industry is starting to slow down a bit, and maybe people who've got a military background. These are all people who are well suited to the logistics field, and they're looking around and thinking, what are the things that I can do? I could potentially manage this complex flow of products. I can deal with these issues. So I think this would be a good career for me. The fourth group of audience that we think will also be interested in this course are those who are looking to start their career. So you're thinking, we're thinking about you more like your school leaver market. And I think an attractive component of this course is that it contains a direct pathway to university. So typically you can study a bachelor degree in logistics at university, but often it's a component of a business degree. So this could be a good way for those students to sort of start their studies while they're working, potentially, and move into logistics at a higher level. So in terms of what these kinds of people are, we think that these students will be a mix of those looking to enhance their career, so those who are already working in logistics looking to improve their career, and those who are looking to change careers out of a similar field. And primarily the motivation of these students is around job security and around stable employment. And yes, they want to earn a higher salary, and yes, they want the status that comes with a manager. But I think deep down it comes down to the fact that they feel that if by studying a qualification in logistics, they can really make sure that their career is rock solid. And I think that appeals to these type of people. And in terms of who they are, like the characteristics, I think these logistics professionals are very organized and efficient, and they enjoy having clear processes and clear procedures to follow. And you can understand that some of these systems that they work in can be very complicated and very complex, and they enjoy dealing with with these complex systems. But to be able to be effective in handling these logistics systems, they do need to be good with numbers and data. So they need to be able to analyze numbers, data, look at areas where they can improve the processes and improve efficiency. So this isn't essential for a job in logistics, certainly, and it's certainly not it won't exclude anyone from entering a career in logistics, but it would be necessary if they want to become a manager someday. They'll need to be comfortable with dealing with numbers and dealing with data. These are people who don't like ambiguity. They don't like uncertainty. They like it when things are ordered and structured. So if you put them in a position and said, do whatever you like, they wouldn't respond particularly well to that. They like it when they have a clear idea of how things are meant to work, and they like it when things just work the way that they're supposed to. So for this course, the employment outcomes for this course will allow graduates to work at that supervisor level in logistics or in a supply chain management. Now, we need to acknowledge here that students won't be able to simply walk into a management or supervisor job in a warehouse without any experience. This is one of those jobs or one of those careers where experience does mean quite a lot. However, combined with the qualification plus the experience, I think that's where students are going to get the best value. So this course will also allow students they should be able to get an entry-level job with this qualification if they don't have any experience. So the job titles that the training package mention include things like logistics manager, supply chain manager, purchasing and procurement manager, and manager of contracts. So again, I'll just point out here that to become those to achieve those positions, students will need work experience alongside their qualification. And I think that the most likely places they're going to work will be medium to large enterprises that have a lot of goods that they need to move from one point to another. So trucking companies, distribution centres, retail, big retail companies. The reality is a big retailer like Woolworths or Coles are going to have their own training program. So they're probably not going to be able to walk straight into the Coles system, for example. But there's plenty of other manufacturers, plenty of other companies out there that are requiring logistics professionals. Another place they could work, or another audience that we think could be attracted to this course, is people who work for themselves, who have their own company, who need to move goods around. And if you think about people who start their own, say, online company selling goods to people in Australia or even people overseas, they need to understand the principles of logistics. They need to know how to source material from suppliers. They need to manage contracts with those suppliers. They need to bring that material into an area where they can manage the stock. Then they need to be able to distribute those materials out to their customers. And that's all part and parcel of logistics. So I think an interesting employment outcome for this course would be those people who work for themselves, who have their own online business and want to move goods around. Okay, so the course is structured in 6 study periods. So there are 14 units of competency throughout, and we've broken that out into 6 study periods. And the reason we've done that is to give students milestones along the way, so that we hope that they can break off the course in bite-sized chunks and work their way through the course. And we've given students 2 years to complete the qualification, and we start them off with a foundations study period. So there's foundations of logistics. So this is the basics that they'll need to know to be able to work and manage a logistics environment and manage a supply chain. So you've got manage transport and logistics unit, manage a supply chain, and apply knowledge of logistics. We move then on to purchasing and managing suppliers. So this is that purchasing and procurement component of logistics. And so this is all around where to find your goods and services, where to find those raw materials that you need to run your system. The third and fourth study period focuses on global supply chain. Now, the reason I've highlighted that in bold is this is unique to open colleges. We've decided to include international supply chain management in our course because we feel that that's becoming more and more important in Australia. More and more businesses are importing materials and importing goods, and more people are exporting their own materials as well. So if you think about someone who has an online store and is starting to get orders from around the world, they need to understand customs and things around international supply chain. And if maybe you're running a business where you're ordering things from China, you need to understand how that works, rather than unique to just the Australian system. So we think that's a nice point of difference for our course. Then as you move through to study period 5, we focus on contracts, and that's a major skill to have in the logistics field. Being able to handle contract negotiations, being able to manage contracts with suppliers, and then along with that, the customer service that comes with that. That's very important. And then finally, we finish up with operations management, and there's sustainability. So we focus on areas such as sustainability. So that's important for today's logistics industry. Being able to manage a sustainable supply chain. So that means sourcing materials and supplies that will not only be economically sustainable, but also environmentally sustainable as well. It's very important. And then risk management, and that's risk management is again a very key skill to have in logistics in today's industry. And when we talk about our competitors, we're going to compare a few of their courses and the differences in the units that they've selected. And we feel that this course is really modern, and it really gives students a good grounding in logistics, in that this is what industry have told us are the skills that students will need. Okay, to enroll in the course, the entry requirements are fairly standard. You don't need any work experience, you don't need any previous studies or background in logistics. You just need to have completed Year 12 and you need to be 18 years old. So of course, if you've completed a Certificate 3 rather than Year 12, then that can be used as equivalent, or a couple of years work experience can be used as equivalent for Year 12 as well. And the reason we've set it at Year 12 is due to some of the literacy requirements within the course. And moving on to assessment, the way this course is assessed is that each subject includes multiple choice questions and also short answer questions. And then throughout the course there's an extended case study. So what that means is, we talked about, when we were developing this course, we talked about whether we needed to include structured workplace learning. And we were thinking, because a lot of these things we're talking about are very practical and they're very specific to the logistics industry, should we require students to go out and get work placement to complete the course? And we decided that wasn't the best option, because the reality is, for students at a diploma level, if a student went to a warehouse or a company and said, "Can I do my workplace learning in your logistics department?" they would say, "Sure thing," but they wouldn't. A student would not get any access to the real meat, the real important areas of logistics that a company, you're not going to allow a student to manage contracts. You're not going to allow a student to deal with your international suppliers. So we decided we would create a fictitious business enterprise. So we created a case study business called Indo-Ost Jaya Proprietary Limited, and that is a case study business that goes throughout the whole course. So in every subject, every unit, students will do a case study based on this fake business, this simulated business. And we feel that this gives the students a good background in all the all the areas of logistics that they'll need, and be able to apply their theory and their knowledge. Now, the reality is, if students are already working in logistics, they'll be able to apply their knowledge directly anyway. However, this allows those students who are new to the industry or those who don't have any background in logistics to still complete the qualification. So I think that's a nice selling point. So there are two university articulations that are set up through this course, and this is through the partnership that we have with North Coast TAFE. Not sure if I mentioned already, so this course is a TAFE course. Students will be awarded a TAFE qualification from North Coast TAFE, but the course is delivered, has been designed and delivered by open colleges. So students will receive a Diploma of Logistics from North Coast TAFE. So what they'll receive after the completion of this course, they can get up to 1 year of credit into a Bachelor of Business or a Bachelor of Business Administration at Southern Cross University. They could also get 1 year of credit into a Bachelor of Business and Commerce at the University of Western Sydney. So those are two university articulations that North Coast TAFE have negotiated on our behalf. All right, so in terms of the competitors for this course, when we did our research, there didn't seem to be a lot of competitors offering this course online, as I already mentioned. There seem to be two major competitors that students will come across if they're searching for this course. So the first one is RMIT, the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. They're a university down in Melbourne, very well-known university, and they also offer TAFE courses. Many universities in Victoria offer their own TAFE courses. So this course is being offered for $8,000 by RMIT, but that attracts vet fee help, which is helpful for students. So while that might mean that students don't have to worry about upfront tuition fees, it's helpful to remind students that vet fee help carries a 20% loan fee. So that $8,000, you need to add another 20% onto the full fees there, which is just under $2,000 for extra on that fees. They also have places that are government subsidised. We never know how many of those are available, but they are offering this course with government subsidised fees for $6,500. So they offer their course with 2 intakes per year. So you can only start in, I think it's in March or in August every year, and you can apply directly to the university, or you can apply through the Central Victorian application system. So that's helpful if you're in Victoria, but if you're not in Victoria, it's actually quite a bit of a pain to apply through VTAC. For those of you who are from New South Wales, the equivalent in New South Wales would be UAC, where you apply to university through a centralised system. So they do encourage at RMIT that you submit your application through VTAC. So there's a bit of restriction there on when you can actually start the course. They obviously articulate their diploma into their own Bachelor of Business courses, and they've decided to focus their course on fairly kind of a mix of different things. There doesn't seem to be a structured focus for the course. They've included subjects on industrial relations, so managing workforce, managing employees, which we felt was not particularly necessary. We felt like there was, if people needed those skills, they could look at a human resources or a management qualification. There's also areas on enterprise planning and budgeting and finance. And budgeting and finance is good skills to have. But again, we feel like that they're fairly generic skills that can be found in other qualifications. So we've decided to focus on have an actual narrative through our course. The other option for students is a college called the College of Warehousing. I'd encourage you to Google them and look at their website. It does look, to be frank, it looks particularly dodgy. And you look at their course price, they're charging $2,500 for a diploma, and then there's a $30 enrolment fee. Students also have the option to pay per subject or per unit, which is $195. So you have 2 options for study. You can study at their campus in Sydney or Brisbane, or you can choose the self-paced distance learning option. Now, I'd have to guess that this self-paced option would just be printed materials posted to you, where you complete the assessments and post them back. Now, looking at the college and looking at their website, most of their courses seem to be in certificate level accreditation courses like forklift driving, little certificates on safety and OH&S, and a lot of those places compete heavily on price, and they can be pretty, and they're mainly just people who are looking for the certification. So I wouldn't think that the quality of learning would be particularly high from that competitor. Certainly not compared to RMIT or us at Open Colleges. Looking at their subjects, they seem to be fairly generic. There's some subjects in HR, in budgeting, in OH&S that have been sourced from other training packages. So then when you compare that with Open Colleges, so we're charging $4,890 full fees, and students can start this course with a $100 deposit. Students are able to pay for the course over 12 months, which works out to be $99.79 per week. Obviously, there's the fully flexible delivery model that Open Colleges has, where you can enroll online, you can enroll through a CCA, and you can start at any time you like. And we also have set up the articulation agreements with Southern Cross University and the University of Western Sydney. And as I mentioned before, the focus of the course is on international logistics. We have a focus on sustainability and a focus on risk management, and we think that those are key skills that students are going to need in today's logistics industry, and that's what the logistics industry told us they wanted from this course. All right, so that's pretty much all I have for you today. Thanks for your time. The course material is scheduled to be live on the 28th of February in 2014. Now, that may change by a couple of days. It might be live in early March. However, we are trying to arrange for this course to be able to be pre-enrolled, so students can be pre-enrolled before the 28th of February. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact your team leader and they'll forward anything to me, or you can always email me directly at the email address there, timjordan@opencolleges.edu.au. Thanks for your attention, and we look forward to seeing plenty of students in the Diploma of Logistics. Cheers.